Okay, hello. One more round this week with Grixis Twin because playing as Amulet twice is kind of lame. So someone I know actually played against my opponent earlier in this event. I know they're on Affinity. Uh, I actually like this hand against Affinity. I'd keep this hand anyways. But specifically, having this card's pretty huge. Basically everything Affinity does that Twin cares about is interacted with by this card. So I think I'm supposed to do this first turn. Like, this hand isn't absurd, but just having half of the combo is really important. I don't really like to try to fight on this axis in terms of oh, yeah. Okay. Maybe I should have killed one in response. I like playing this safe, which is doing that, passing, and now I can counter Volt Scourge or any other 2-drop. Based on the texture of how this played out, I'm fairly certain I'm going to have to set up for Dispel when I combo. Sure. Nope, new plan. Land. That is not a land. There's a non-zero chance I now have to accept death to a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can 8. I think I just have to accept death if my opponent has a blast. Well, we messed this game up pretty seriously on turn 1. Should have been very far ahead if I had not. If I just bolted in response, I just like blanked. I'm like, oh, I want to be able to bolt down a random creature, but I just should have realized that my opponent was clearly on a plating hand. So I also should have remanded that. I was too busy talking about the previous mistakes I made to pay attention and not make my mistake. Well, that's lucky. Okay, no, we were just dead. Okay. Cards that are good. Anger, Pia, and Kieran, and Shatterstorm, and Kolaghan's Command. Terminate's not horrific. I want all my combo stuff. I don't really like Vendilion Click here. Remand is a giant disaster. And Spell Pierce is pretty bad. That looks good. Yeah, the game would have been pretty interesting if I hadn't let my opponent play plating on turn one there. Nope. Better. Yeah, and they even kept the card on top after the Mulligan's Cry, so I should have known something was coming that turn that I needed to prevent them from casting. It's like even Ravager, I don't want to be in a bolt fight against there. Because if they just shove on Ravager, I'm in trouble. I think I actually. There was an argument last game for me leading on Delta, so I had the flexibility. So I could either snare or bolt as needed. Though I think the odds are higher, especially after a 6, that I want to bolt like a pest or something. Um, and that the damage also matters, especially if I know my opponent's on Blast Affinity. Though I guess every affinity's Blast nowadays, but there have been Pierce affinities in the past or Seize. I like that. I need some amount of interaction, even if that's not great interaction. I think I have to get on board fast too. Um, kind of want to bottom both. If I top snare, it sets me up for a very specific fight. But I think that's actually what this hand wants to fight over. Because I think Pia and Kieran's going to go a long way. Maybe I was just supposed to keep both and miss land drops, but maybe I'm really unsure on that turn. I think there's arguments for any of the combinations there. Yeah, I don't really want to play against that card right now. Maybe I should have just shipped Bolt on one. This isn't really a hand that utilizes it well. That's what I should have done. There's no snap. There's not like a sufficient density of removal. It's just kind of a lightning bolt that's there to be a lightning bolt, which isn't really you really want against Affinity. You have to fight them with a little more power than that. By a little, I mean a lot. So that was actually the mistake that might have cost me this game was keeping Bolt on one. I was just kind of looking for anything to do early. But with the visions, I should have just assumed that I'd get something. Okay. So my opponent has Galvblast in their hand, 100%. Thoughtseize. That's fine. Yep. I should have tapped. I missed the damage there for no reason. Just was defaulting through the trigger because I didn't have a land to tap. Trying to figure out if Snap Visions is the right play. Do you like the idea? Not sure how far Snap Bolt gets me. Let's tap right if I'm doing this. Yeah, I think I need to find something that interacts with the plating. Just not either of those cards. I think I want to do that so I can Visions into something next turn without taking damage. That's an awkward one to have to play against because that now means that the plating moves, right? Animate move plating. Well, the move plating is not the end of the world. Pretty locked into this at this point. I don't really want to take a huge hit. Waiting on this because this is definitely a point where I would like to. The one damage versus my opponent having uh, being forced into action first, I think, is pretty huge here. That was a mistake. My opponent should have left up the pest. Because now I get to take a bunch less damage because they can't instant move it. I deserve that. Could have easily not died there. Yeah, those games were very poorly played on my part. This matchup tends to be my hands work like also. So the thing is that this matchup is typically in Twins' favor by a decent amount. Um, these were definitely like the marginal sorts of games where the inherent mismatch, like a lot of the cheap interactions and powerful stuff Twin is doing, trumps Affinity's game plan. The inherent mismatch didn't show up, and I was in a spot where I needed to milk my cards a little better than I was able to. Yeah, that would have been, jeez. Fortunately, I did not do so. Yeah. Grixis versus, yeah, it's about the same. Kolaghan's command versus like having access to Ancient Grudge being better than having access to like just Shatterstorm is about a push because Grudge is just so good. Uh, so the matchup's not too much different from the typical, blue red splash twin decks that exist, or even the full on teamer. But that was not the best executed on my part.